It's the dream of every cricketer, the ultimate glory. Few manage to keep their date with destiny. But for many, it's been heartbreaks and a cross to bear. The Holy Grail is here in India. I'm Rupha Ramani and Firstpost brings you the ringside view. We bring you the Cup of Dreams. Cricket World Cup coverage like never before.
The champion!
It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net. Nice one. Straight down the middle. So a good performance from both teams here today.
Hello and welcome to Firstpost. Hope you're doing well today. I'm Rupha Ramani, so let's get started. Now, sport is about achieving the impossible, or what many believe to be impossible. And Afghanistan scripted yet another historic chapter in the Cricket World Cup. And they celebrated the win like none other. We look at just how this victory came and the chief constructors of what is proving to be a breakthrough year for this team. And speaking of breakthroughs, after a couple of woeful ones on the circuit, is PV Sindhu's graph on the rise once again. A fiery performance to finish at the semi-final of the Denmark Open has marked the shuttler's surge in the circuit. And the surge in sports in Saudi Arabia continues after football and forays in tennis. Esports has come to the land. The ambitious project is set to take off next year in an annual affair. All of that is lined up in our show today. But first, let's look at what's making all the headlines in the world of sports in Sports 360. Jenny Hermoso trained with the Spanish squad yesterday. This was the first time that she was seen with the national team after the kissing scandal at the World Cup. Hermoso was applauded by fans as she walked onto the pitch for her training session. In the Premier League, Tottenham Hotspur beat Fulham FC 2-0 in yesterday's match. The hosts Tottenham Hotspurs got an early lead on a goal by Son Heung-min in the 36th minute. In the second half, James Maddison scored for the Spurs to extend the lead. Tottenham Hotspurs now sit at the top of the Premier League. World Rugby has launched an investigation into Sunday's semi-final between England and South Africa. This comes after England alleged that one of their players was racially abused in the game. England say South African player Bongi Bonambi used racial slurs during the match. If found guilty, Bonambi will be handed a suspension for the World Cup final. South Africa faces New Zealand in the final on the 29th of October. And in cricket, Alyssa Healy has undergone surgery on her right index finger. This comes after she sustained an injury while trying to separate her pet dogs in a skirmish. Due to the incident, Healy has withdrawn from the ongoing Women's Big Bash League T20 tournament. Now we will start with cricket today, and a story that is continuing to capture our hearts and our imaginations, the Afghanistan cricket contingent. Now they came to India to participate in the Cricket World Cup, and with the tag of just making up the numbers. That is what was said of Netherlands and Afghanistan. Now Afghanistan entered the World Cup on the back of a poor Asia Cup showing and talks of their batters not really able to last 50 overs. They came to India even as we all spoke about how they are a strong T20 international outfit. A lot of their players have been journeymen along T20 leagues all over the world. But they have shown us all that they really mean business. They followed up that first win against England in Delhi with another shocker against Pakistan in Chennai, begging for us to ask, is this really an upset? This is the very first time that they have beaten Pakistan, and the city stood up and applauded. The Afghani players were rejoicing, walking around the stadium. And even dancing as Rashid Khan was when he was wearing that flag and he came out. That was lauding the show that they put up. The players were in their elements, as we were saying. They were reveling, and they will cherish this moment for years to come, because it was not just the win, but also the manner in which they won, which was thorough and clinical. A performance that was reflective of sides that boast of years of experience in playing under pressure. Even though the Afghani bowlers set up the win with some inspired bowling performances, particularly from the young Noor Ahmed, it's the batters who wowed us all. Now, before this World Cup, the top 5 totals of Afghanistan against teams higher ranked than them has been the following. Now, they've made just 300-plus scores. Their best performance coming against Bangladesh earlier this year when they made a 331-1. The remainder of the top 5 totals all came from late last year to this one. Now, if we looked at their top totals in ODI history while batting second, their best has been 276 that came against UAE. The remaining of the top 5 are all somewhere between 260 and 276, and a lot of them before the year 2020. So this win against Pakistan was their best performance with the bat in a run chase ever, and that too against a team that was pitted to have one of the best pace units in the World Cup. And the way they constructed the run chase was highly incredible. The top 4 shouldered the entire responsibility, playing mature knocks that did not veer towards flashy. They ran the singles and the twos diligently, played on the merit and just orchestrated an MS Dhoni-esque run chase of just taking the chase deep and the match till the very end, thereby putting that added pressure on the Pakistan bowlers who really crumbled, and their fielding too reflected that. Let's look at the players who carried out this mission flawlessly. Now we have to speak about Rahmanullah Gurbaz. This is what his World Cup has been so far. He's scored 2 half-centuries already and against 2 of the best sides in the world. With a strike rate of over 100, he has been one of the top batters for Afghanistan in this tournament. He's confident as an opener, and his partnership with Ibrahim Zadran, who was adjudged player of the match for his knock of 87 of 113 deliveries, was key. Gurbaz has had a few stints with IPL sides, Gujarat Titans and then Kolkata Knight Riders. Not too much to write home about, but he has been tenacious, quite a big hitter. He's agile, and in this tournament, he has taken his skills up a notch. Fondly called Johnny in the ranks because he always loves a good laugh. He's a good-natured teammate to have around. Ibrahim Zadran, also 21 years old, and what a powerhouse of talent he's proving to be. And he credited this performance to his opening partner Gurbaz, who he has batted alongside for years. They used to play a lot of cricket together in the under-16 days. So that familiarity and the sync of batting long together and building partnerships just help. And these are the men who featured in the recent run chases that I mentioned earlier. In fact, this was the 4th century stand between Gurbaz and Zadran in ODIs. The joint most by any pair for Afghanistan, equaling Hashmatullah and Rahmat Shah's record. And all 4 century stands for these two have come this year alone. That's joint most by any pair in 2023, right alongside Shubman Gill and Rohit Sharma from India. From the youngsters to the senior hands in the side, Rahmat Shah, who is 30 years old, has played 102 ODI matches for Afghanistan, which is immense. And he was key in the middle order after Gurbaz departed. It was his partnership with Zadran that really steadied the innings. He and Hashmatullah then joined hands to steer Afghanistan home. The captain has really led from the front. He scored 48 last night, but it was that crucial partnership with Rahmat that really sealed the win, and it was fitting that he got the winning runs. You see him in press conferences and he's saying the right things, like the team wants to make this tournament a memorable one for his people back home. They want to make a positive statement with the kind of cricket that they are playing. They're not happy with, he even said that they were not happy with the way that their batting was shaping up. They were lacking this year. And with this World Cup, they're seeing a lot of the execution that has come with a lot of work. After the last win against England, Hashmatullah in the press conference did speak about what went right, but more about what went wrong. He said that one big drawback is losing back-to-back wickets and not arresting the slide and letting the batting slip away. They stopped that from happening in this very game against Pakistan, and that mature execution got them across the line. They all speak about the belief, whether it is the captain, his teammates, or even the coach Jonathan Trott. And for Trott himself, who stepped away from the sport while he was playing owing to mental stress and depression, what a turnaround it has been for him as coach of this side. The addition of Ajay Jadeja at the helm alongside Jonathan Trott is also key. He has always been a fighting cricketer who would give it all at every point in the match during his playing days, and you can sense that with this Afghanistan side. And the next game will be crucial because that's up against Sri Lanka. One more win here would make the points table very interesting, and it's also a team that Afghanistan has beaten a couple of times recently. The best part about this is that we're witnessing the shift in Afghanistan cricket. This is the breakthrough year for them, and it's the batters, unlike the spinners, who are shepherding that change. Right, moving on. Let's go to badminton. And there's some good news for fans of Indian badminton player PV Sindhu. Sindhu has clawed her way back into the top 10 world rankings by jumping 2 spots this week. She's back in the top 10 after a gap of almost 6 months. And though this is great news for Sindhu, the shuttler has had a tough couple of years. The 2019 world champion has had a difficult time, and a lot of it can be traced back to the stress factor. As Sindhu suffered en route to winning gold at the 2022 Commonwealth Games. Now here's a look at the difficult year that Sindhu has had. The Indian shuttler is yet to win a title this season. She's even found it a task to win against lower-ranked opponents this year. Out of the 18 major titles that Sindhu has contested this year, she has lost the opening round 7 times. Yes, you heard that right. Sindhu was ousted in round 1 in 7 different tournaments. After her US Open loss to Gao Fang Jie in July, Sindhu wrote a long social media post detailing how much the loss affected her. This year, Sindhu has made it to the semi-final round in just 4 tournaments, and she has made it to the final just once, at the Madrid Open in April, where she was outclassed by Indonesia's Gregoria Mariska Tunjung. But something struck out from Sindhu's usual calm that is seen on court. Just last week, PV Sindhu was knocked out of the Denmark Open semi-final. She was beaten by Spain's Carolina Marin, someone who has been an arch-rival of Sindhu in the past. But there was an incident in the match that caught everyone's attention. Sindhu and Marin began celebrating their points with loud screams. The umpire even warned the two about unnecessary posturing. Sindhu also started taking more time in between points. Marin continued celebrating her points in an ecstatic manner despite the umpire warning. Meanwhile, Sindhu was warned twice for taking a longer time to serve. Marin won the first game 21-18, but things got nastier in the decider. During one of the rallies, the shuttle fell in Sindhu's court, and both the shuttlers reached to pick it. Now, the rule is, of course, when the shuttle falls in the player's half, they go and pick it up. This led to, of course, a major altercation with the umpire handing yellow cards to both Sindhu and Marin. Yellow is given to players for misconduct, a sight rarely seen on a badminton court. Now, though the card has no impact on the score of the match, the Badminton World Federation, or BWF, imposes fines on players for their ill behavior, and the altercation was obviously not good. The ace Indian shuttler is having a hard time finding her touch, from battling injuries to finding the right coach. Sindhu is struggling to get into her groove on multiple fronts. For players at elite levels, all these factors take a toll on the body and the mind. It's been more than a year since she won a major title, which came under Sindhu's previous coach, South Korea's Park Ji-sang. Park took on the role of Sindhu's coach in 2019. Under his guidance, Sindhu won bronze at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics and her first BWF title at Singapore in July 2022. Sindhu's last major win was in August last year when she won the gold at the Birmingham Commonwealth Games, that too with Park as the coach. But a leg injury, of course, forced Sindhu to go on a 5-month-long break. In February, Park was replaced by former Malaysian badminton star Hafiz Hashim, who became Sindhu's new coach. And even that didn't help. By July, Sindhu fell to the rank of number 17, her lowest ranking in over a decade. Though Sindhu is yet to win her first title, she's slowly getting back to form. Quarter and semi-final appearances are coming in, and Sindhu is beginning to feel like her older self again. Now she's back in the top 10 in the world, and there are still at least 10 tournaments that Sindhu will look to compete in. Will she lift a BWF trophy this year? Her fans, her coach, and Sindhu herself certainly believe so. And we'll, of course, keep tracking her journey for you. Now, there's one nation that is on a mission to change the course of sports. It began with the beautiful game of football when Cristiano Ronaldo signed for Saudi club Al Nassr. Since then, some of the major football names like Karim Benzema, Sadio Mane, and N'Golo Kante have followed Ronaldo's footsteps. How did this happen? Simply put, Saudi Arabia has the money to rope in big talent. But that's not the sport we are covering today. Instead, we're going to talk about the newest sport on the block, electronic sports, or esports as we call it. We've spoken a bit about how esports were recently seen at the Hangzhou Asian Games for the very first time, and what a splash it made. It was the first time that it was in a medal contention. There was a tournament and there was a discipline that was introduced for it. Now, if China can do it, why not Saudi Arabia? Just yesterday, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman gave a massive boost to esports. Saudi Arabia has announced that it will host the inaugural Esports World Cup next year in Riyadh. And the Saudi royalty is all game for it. Here's why. The Saudi Crown Prince is known to be a big video gamer himself. He has repeatedly expressed his love for Call of Duty. Last year, he announced $38 billion, yes, $38 billion for Saudi-based esports firm Savvy Games Group. Prince Salman says the goal is to create up to 40,000 esports jobs in the Saudi kingdom. clearly, he wants to make this nation the hub of esports and the hub for people visiting and making this more popular. And his ministers are fully backing him.
The Esports World. I mean, honestly, we're super excited to be hosting the Esports World Cup. Just look at the Gamers 8 when we hosted that. It was during a shorter period of time, and we've seen more than 2.6 million people attend. So can you imagine that number multiplying we're moving from an event which was Gamers 8, which was a few weeks, to a 2-month event for the World Cup. So we're super excited to see those people come into Saudi, visit Saudi. And the beautiful thing about esports is that it's the future of live entertainment, but it's also a borderless sector, which is something that we thrive for in the tourism industry, because we get really to have people connect and build bridges from one side of the world to the other. So this is a great moment for us here in Saudi.
Very ambitious indeed. Saudi Arabia were already hosting a major esports event called Gamers 8. They just want to make it bigger and grander by turning it into a World Cup. The gaming festival will be held in the summer months, when temperatures outside are not too hot to bear. It's also the time when Saudi Arabia sees a dip in tourism. The easiest way to overcome that is by hosting an Esports World Cup, which has millions of followers and can be played indoors. It's a win-win. Arabia want to host an Esports World Cup. It's because of how big the numbers are that are associated with computer games. Saudi Arabia has announced that the prize pool in the World Cup will be worth $45 million. The games that will be played are, of course, yet to be announced. But we can be sure that some of these games will definitely be played. The biggest games in esports are League of Legends, Fortnite, PUBG, Counter-Strike, Global Offensive, and Dota 2. They all have their own versions of World Championships, which are held every year. The prize pool is worth millions of dollars, and the viewership too is in the millions. Dota 2 continues to dominate the other esports with the biggest prize pool, even if their viewership is evenly matched. And these games are getting more and more popular by the day. In fact, the top players in all of these games are already millionaires, believe it or not. In League of Legends, there's South Korean player Lee Sang-hyuk, who goes by stage name Faker, earns over $1 million a year. In Fortnite, American Kyle Gisdorf, aka Booga, makes a whopping $3 million a year. South Korean Park Young dominates the mobile-based game PUBG. Denmark's Peter Rasmussen makes over $2 million every year playing Counter-Strike. And the grandest of all is John Sunstein, another gamer from Denmark who made over $7 million playing Dota 2. Clearly, there's a lot of money involved in esports. We've established that. Gone are the days when athletes had to tough it out in all kinds of weather conditions, overcome injuries, and put their bodies on the line through extreme discomfort to win a tournament and keep that process going. Now it's all about hand-eye coordination and adapting to technology. Saudi Arabia sees the money in it. They are going all in with esports. And we too believe that there's a lot that these games can offer to the future of sports itself. Now, that's all we have the time for on Firstpost today. But before we say goodbye, as always, we leave you with a parting shot. We call it the last serve. Now, since what we're going to bring today, of course, is that we all want to pay heartfelt condolences to India's former cricket captain Bishan Singh Bedi, a great spin master, an amazing captain, and an exceptional human being. He was bid farewell to in India by many former celebrities, cricketers and former celebrities, of course, who attended his funeral.
The biggest loss to Indian cricket, but I think more than that, a great character, a great human being. I don't have to say more than that. I think wonderful person.
It was quite a tearful funeral farewell. Everyone was gathered there. It was quite a lovely sight for all of them to come together and bid goodbye to Bishan Singh and Bishupaji, as a lot of us used to call him fondly. But that's about does it here on Firstpost. Thank you so much for joining in. And if you are continuing to watch us, do not forget to follow us on our World Cup coverage, which is the Cup of Dreams here on Firstpost. I'll see you again tomorrow, of course, but till then, bye-bye.